Welcome, Magdalena. I am so excited you're here. I was just letting you know before I hit record that as soon as I read your Substack about 20 minutes of future state journaling, I was like, I love this. I want to talk to her. I hope she'll come on the podcast. And then I continued reading for a couple more weeks. Love everything you're sharing. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about lots of things. But first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited. And it's just such a joy and such an honor to be with you and share my crazy story.
I love it. I would say it's not even crazy at all because it makes sense when we look at it from a brain science perspective.
Yeah, that part does make sense, but some of my life stories are a little bit more crazy than normal.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear them then.
Perfect.
I want to talk about a lot of things today. We're definitely going to talk about your Substack. I want to talk about what you're writing now, what you're seeing. I do have questions about that 20-minute writing process, future state journaling. Before I get to that, I do want to hear a little bit about your early days of writing, living, career-wise, whatever introduction you'd love to share with us. I'd love to
I
hear.
love it. One of the questions that you sent early on as part of the flow of this conversation, and I absolutely loved, was can you tell us a little bit more about that early writing memories and your experience with your ex-boyfriend and how that went? So I'll start there.
Yes, tell us about that.
I always joke that my writing life began in a tragic way with my ex-boyfriend now, but the boyfriend at the time didn't like my writing and said that it sucked. And because I was very young and I was very much in love, when I shared this with him and I got that response from him, A, it broke my heart. B, I stopped writing and sharing for good 15, 20 years. And then luckily, life showed up in a way that demonstrated that he was not a good fit for me. So lesson learned is don't be in a relationship with anyone that does not like your poetry.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came back to writing. What did your reading life look like before that? Were you a kid with?
So I spent lots and lots of time reading and then writing. So my reading journey started when I was in a hospital. When I was 14, I ended up having to be in a hospital for 2.5 years. So at the time I lived in Poland and I was a teen. And when Chernobyl happened, the radiation had a direct influence and direct impact on my hormones. And that had an impact on one of my legs. So I ended up in a hospital with the first news that I got about that was a doctor that we were talking to said, "You will never walk again." And at 14, because I was a big rebel, I said, F you, I will prove you wrong. I will not only walk again, but I will climb and dance and do everything I need to do. So the journey of 2 or 3 years in a hospital started for me. And it looked like 3 surgeries and then a lot of time in a physical therapy. So I spent 9 months in a cast from my chest to the very, very toe. And so I was like flat on my back, and the only thing I could do was read.
Wow.
So I was reading for 9 months. I was the reading machine, and I read everything I could get my hands on. I have an article where I shared like all the books that had a huge impact on my life, including Anna Karenina.
Okay.
So then what happened was after the surgeries and after the physical therapy, I did start walking again and started with crutches. And then from crutches, I went back to normal walking. And then I made a point of hiking and mountain climbing and, of course, dancing and everything I said I did just to prove one guy wrong.
Good. I'm so glad.
That's my very early life story. And of course, it had to do a lot with reading, and then writing was an outlet for me where I was able to process my emotions because I was surrounded always by grown-ups. So the hospital that I was in Poland at the time, the concept of having a hospital for children didn't exist. So I spent a lot of time with grown-ups, and they not necessarily could relate or understand to where I was.
Yeah.
So I wrote and wrote and wrote, and it was, and again, never shared it with anyone, which might be a good thing.
What kind of writing were you doing? Was it journaling or?
It was, it was
Okay.
journaling, and it was just to process my anger, disappointment, frustration, ups and downs, and whatever else I was experiencing at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, I came to US when I was 21. I did not know any English. Well, 2 words, thank you and I'm sorry. And I came to US because I wanted to study psychology.
Okay.
At University of Michigan.
Yeah.
And people ask me like, why Michigan? I said, I don't know. Someplace said it's one of the best. And I was like, okay, I will just pack my bags and come to US, not knowing any English, and start at the university. And now I marvel at myself. Would I ever do it now, knowing what I know? I'm like, absolutely not.
Where would you pick now? I don't know.
Just stay, right? When you think about it, how crazy it is to come to a country and not know the language, not know anyone, and be like, okay, I will figure it out.
I love that.
So I started working as an au pair, and I had 3 lovely children that actually, they were my English language teachers. And they were the best because kids have no filters. So they would say things like, oh my God, why are you talking so funny? And I said, I don't know. Tell me how to do it the right way, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't, and then for me, it was incredibly helpful because it removed the barrier and feeling the shame and feeling the barrier when you are learning as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was no one else. It was just me and the kids, and there was no judgment. They just thought I spoke funny, and they were trying to teach me. And I was like, okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Fast forward again, I finally made it to the university. It took me 2.5 years. And I love this story because I will never, ever forget this. Psych 101, my textbook, I kept it just so I could give it to my son. Above every line, there's a translation into Polish. This is before AI, before any of the cool things that we have now. It would save me hours and hours of time.
Right.
But at the time, I was like literally translating word by word by word by word to trying to understand concepts of psychology. And even with that, the determination and tenacity, my first test was 100 questions. It was multiple choice. Out of 100 questions, I got 5 right. Statistically, it was impossible.
Yeah. Wow.
So it was a huge failure, which then led to a conversation with the professor. And it actually really, and it was a saving grace because he was like, what is happening? Like, why are you getting only 5 answers right? And I said, because I'm fresh off the phone.
Yeah.
I don't understand the concept. He's like, okay, I'm going to help you. So he paired me up with a teaching assistant. And I worked with him, and I got C+ from that class. And that was like the biggest win ever.
Yes.
So I did my psychology, and because at the time that I was at the University of Michigan, positive psychology was like really flourishing, and I got an opportunity to work as a research assistant in the lab. I got to know the leading fathers and mothers of the positive psychology. I really fell in love with positive psychology and science and neuroscience. And then, of course, life has ups and downs. So then I moved to Chicago. I wanted to study at Northwestern, pursue social studies. That didn't go so well. So I ended up working in a company that was doing marketing for home health and nursing homes.
Okay.
And I was using my statistics background working for them. And then, so I was in Chicago for 4 or 5 years, and then they closed their office in Chicago, and I came right back to Ann Arbor, where I started, and worked for that company for a couple of years. And then I ended up working for automotive company, General Motors, for 15 years. And it was amazing from the standpoint that at General Motors, I got an opportunity to do different things every 3 years. And it was because I always wanted to learn more and expand.
Yeah.
And so I started in marketing, then I moved to information technology, then I moved to human resources, then I moved to global system implementations. So it was a great journey, except that when I had my son, I was working on a global project and I was supporting 35 countries and 6 languages
Wow.
in implementing a new system. And so what ended up happening was I would start work at 6 a.m. I would be on a call, driving to school, work with him, drop him off, come back, pick him up, be still on the call, have a break for dinner, and then get back to work and work until 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, this is not sustainable. I cannot do this any longer. So when the opportunity came up to take a buyout, I was like, please pick me.
Yes.
So I took a buyout, and that was like the first time in my life where I was able to take a breath and be like, okay, what is it that I want to do with my life? As I was working in GM, I was also working on getting certified as a coach. So I started my coaching practice. And then again, I will always go back to universe having a really interesting sense of humor. I was coaching my son's head of school, and he was going to the Montessori school. And I was volunteering a lot at that school. And so one day we're driving to his school, and he's like, Mom, you are spending an awful amount of time here. How come you are not working here? I'm like, what? Me at the school? No, I just never thought about it. Like, it was completely in my blind spot.
Yeah.
I started talking to the head of school, and I joined the Montessori school right before, or pretty shortly before COVID happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally a saving grace for the school because I had so much experience in terms of technology that when everything shut down, I was able to train the faculty within a week and pivot to being on Zoom within 2 weeks. So as a school, we didn't miss much. And so through COVID, we got an opportunity to grow, and then added a middle school program so my son could finish the middle school in Montessori. And then we just kept growing and expanding. So 2 years ago, we added a second building and even more children. So the growth was phenomenal. And it came from my personal stand that more children should have access to this type of education.
Mm-hmm.
And then my son graduated, and I got a chance again to pause and be like, okay, so what do I do now?
Yep.
Like, he is in high school. What is it that I want to do when I grow up?
Yeah.
I'm still growing up.
Aren't we all? Yes.
So 2 years ago, and I will tie it back to my writing journey. James was 14 at the time, and it was an Easter Sunday. We were driving to a store to get a chocolate bunny for him. And he turns to me, he says, Mom, I have a pain in my chest and my left arm is numb. And I'm sitting there and thinking to myself, do kids have heart attacks?
Yeah.
I'm like, is that possible? And he says, I'm having a hard time breathing. And I'm like, okay, we're going straight to urgent. So we got to urgent care. And so the Easter Sunday, very low. There wasn't many professional. I mean, it was mostly staffed by students. And so what happened, it turned out that his left lung collapsed, and he had a procedure done, which didn't go very well the first time around. So we transferred him to a different hospital. A week later, he had a couple more other procedures because it was like one after another. Nothing
Wow.
was truly working. And he was doing amazing, and he was so brave and so courageous until the third time.
Yeah.
So before the third surgery, he was like, "Mom, am I going to die?" And I was like, "Not today." Well, just
Wow.
not right now. You
Yeah.
still have a long, long way to go, and you're going to have an amazing life. And we're doing everything we can, and this shall pass as well. But that question and that conversation took me back to not only journaling, but using writing as a therapy. And then as I was sitting in the hospital with him, he was there for a month, I wrote every single.
Yeah.
And so that was a pivoting point again in my life where I went back to journaling. But this time I said to myself, I'm going to share. I'm going to share what I'm experiencing, because there are the parents in the same waiting room that need to hear this story.
Mm.
And I want them to know that it's possible to have this conversation with their children, that children are incredibly resilient, and that being honest, it doesn't mean that we are diminishing ourselves as a parent. It means for us as a parents that we're actually making our children stronger by having those very difficult, honest conversations. Was that the hardest conversation of my entire life? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to make sure that I shared this with others. So I started publishing. I started writing on Medium. My first writing pieces were horrible. When I go back now, I'm like, oh my God.
That's
What were you
okay.
thinking?
But your son is healthy though right now, right?
He's self-peak, he's flourishing. He is back in sports 6 months after his surgery. That was one of my proudest moments for him after the recovery. He was performing on the stage, singing. And he was like, I was so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He was like, I was so stressed out. I was so uncomfortable, but I still did it. And I was so incredibly proud of him that he didn't stop. He didn't miss anything. Or he just kept going with his life. And again, like, that's why I wanted to share this with whoever would read, to get the story of resilience, and also highlight the fact that, because very often we talk about grown-ups being resilient, I don't think there's enough conversations happening about kids being resilient.
Yeah.
So highlighting that and giving the kids credit for how incredibly resourceful, resilient, and unstoppable they are.
Yeah.
And making sure that they get the credit that they deserve.
Yeah, that is so good. They deserve it.
So that's how my writing started. Like I said, it started with not the greatest articles. However, what I will say is that I wrote every single day. I stopped counting my days, but it was like 2.5 years where I did not skip a day. And it was important for me to write even on the days where there was a couple of days where I had flu and I had 104 degrees with fever. And I was like, okay, I will just write one word.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's all I needed. That's all it took. And I continued that every day. And what's important for me, and what I really want to highlight, is that I don't, and we chatted about this before we started, is that I write in stolen moments. I write in a car. I write in a gas station. I write when I'm waiting for my son to pick him up. Restaurants, I don't know.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, I get it. I do the same thing. I write in hockey arenas, in the car, on the go, at the kitchen counter. No one escapes to go write for 2 weeks in a cab.
Oh my God, no.
No, I wouldn't know what to do. I would probably just read. I don't even know if I would write.
That's an excellent point. I don't know if I would write. I would probably didn't know what to do with myself either.
Yeah.
I call it writing in the stolen moments.
Mm.
And I'm amazed because when I reflect back and then when I look at my calendar, I'm actually amazed that every day I get to write for 60 minutes. But it's like 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 5 minutes here.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, it's 60 minutes. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, that's awesome.
That's great. So many people think I don't have time to write. You do.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. I think in one of my stories, I did share like, oh, I just write on. I didn't have anything with me in the car. I wrote on a napkin.
Yeah.
Or a receipt.
Yeah. And we all have phones now. Type something on your phone.
Like, right. Exactly. Like use whatever you have, and do it in literally in stolen moments. And I'm still in awe of that throughout a day. It really adds up.
Yeah, it totally does. Okay. Wow. That was a lot. Thank you so much for taking us through that journey and the ups and downs. I'm glad writing was there for you as a practice to help you stay present and healing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a lot. It's heavy and challenging, but I'm glad you found peace in all of that.
Yeah. And I'm glad and thankful that I get to share this with others.
Yeah.
So I've been on Substack for a year and a half now.
Okay.
And when I started, I was sharing very personal stories about growing up in a communist country, and story of James being in a hospital, and my healing journey with my father and visiting his grave. And it was just, to me, very often,
Yeah.
I share this with others. Sometimes it felt like I wanted to throw up before I pushed that publish button. Like literally, I just like, oh my God, I'm making myself so vulnerable. I'm sharing from my soul, God, what will people think? Like all these stories. And I still was like, okay, just press this button, girl.
That is so good. I think it's also a testament to what we call great writing. So great writing is you sharing your stories, vulnerable. Yes, you might feel like you're going to throw up, but you publish anyway. It's not about, is this a perfect sentence? Is there a typo? Who cares? Nobody cares, especially when you're reading about the stories that you were sharing.
Yeah. And for me, I always go back to the imposter syndrome, right? English is my second language. I will not have a perfect grammar. I don't understand, where do I put the freaking comma and semicolon and all, and then I'll be like, okay, who cares?
Yeah, nobody cares.
People just want to hear or read a story that they can connect. So I just kept going. So I kept going and going and going. And my subscriber membership count was like going, like, imagine a turtle.
Turtles will get there.
There were times where it was just like dip. So one of the things that I will have to add is that I am obsessed with experimenting. I experiment all day long with anything and everything, including writing. So when I would experiment, that sometimes I will be like experiencing a huge dips because people will be like, unsubscribe.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? This is not working. Let's go back.
No, they're making room for better subscribers to sign up.
Yeah, that's the healthy way.
Yeah.
Get it, right? But in the moment, you are like, oh, what is happening? What is it? Right? I gave myself a lot of credit for is the tenacity. I just kept going. I'm like, oh, that didn't work. Let's try something else. Let's pivot. So when I started, I used to run a lot of challenges.
Okay.
My first challenge was like a complete disaster. I think because it was a complete disaster, it got a lot of readers.
That's amazing. I love it.
Sharing honestly about how badly we were all failing. So then I switched from challenging. I went to, okay, now I'm going to experiment with lives. So I started doing lives. And again, thank God for my son. He was like, okay, mom, I will do the first live with you.
Aw.
I started doing lives and he was a big part of my lives. We brought in some of his friends and one episode that like got, I don't remember the numbers at this time, but it was like one episode that got the highest amount of views in my career.
Yeah.
Was when we had his friend Max coming and joining us on live, and we were talking about the differences of being accepted as a teenager versus being accepted as a grown-up when it comes to writing. It was fantastic. We had fun. They had their perspective. I had my perspective. It was phenomenal. So I experimented with that. Then I moved to experimenting with doing workshops and with seminars. There were times when no one showed up.
Yeah, it happens.
And I was like, okay, nobody's here. You will still do it.
Yeah.
I just keep going. And again, so year into Substack, I was like, okay, my biggest dream is 1,000 subscribers. I will take myself out for a drink when I have 1,000 subscribers. That was that number I had in my head. And it was just like, oh my God, it's going to be amazing. So then I published my 20-minute exercise article.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there and just watching my phone. And it was like, yeah, congratulations. You passed your 1,000.
Yay.
Well, then it was like, oh, now you are close to 2,000. Oh, wait, you are at 3,000. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening?
When you wrote that article, so we're definitely going to link to this and we're going to talk about the process. When you wrote that, did you have any idea that it would be so popular? It's always a surprise.
It was a complete surprise. I had no idea. I kept telling my friends and my family, this is wild. I don't know what is happening, but I'm just going on this wild ride.
Mm-hmm.
And as this thing is happening, I'm committed to making sure that I answer every single comment. So it took me...
It took a while.
Yes. So 2-3 hours a day.
Wow.
That's how long it would take me. I will add something to that because that's important. I want to make sure that I wanted to make sure and still do that when I answer the comments, I'm not answering that thanks for reading. I appreciate you. I did not want to do the superficial crap. I was like, I'm going to take the time, however time it takes, to make sure that I answer every single person in a very thoughtful, respectful, and authentic way. And so there were days, it was like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I still do it. So people are still commenting on it. And I still make sure that I take the time and I connect at that level that is very authentic, that I address and answer whatever questions they have. There were a couple of people that suggested or mentioned books that they read. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go and check out this book.
Yeah.
We talk about different modalities that they're using in their lives. So I've learned about new modalities. And so it's been such an incredibly surprising, joyful, amazing process for me when it comes to building the community, make and build and learning about myself, learning about my readers, and also being of service. I'm a huge proponent of servant leadership.
Yeah.
So and I always go back and I always tie everything I do to that. How can I help others? How can I elevate others? And how can I help them in wherever they are in their journey?
I'm right with you there. I think some people think of writers as these inaccessible people that write all day and then don't talk to the readers like it's mysterious. Mm-hmm. But no, there's a good number of us writers that want to talk to our readers. And I'm right there with you, responding to every comment, because service, I'm here to serve. I'm not here to just write and blast it out. I want to know what you think. I want to know how it's working for you. I want to celebrate with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The celebration is a huge part. Now I'm starting to get emails from readers that are sharing their amazing results through that work. And I just love, and it just melts my heart
Yeah.
when people share their script and how they scripted that particular scene in their life. And then they say, you won't believe this actually happened. Yes.
Yay. I love
It's
that.
just that, to me, that is worth $1 million. Like that experience of being able to read. Just, I think yesterday I got an email like that from someone that was working through their hesitancy or uncomfortableness with social media and how she wrote about her future self and how she now is going to share her stories on Substack. I mean, that is just priceless.
Yeah. Yeah. We need those stories. Can you imagine if you stopped writing after that boyfriend who didn't like your poetry, you didn't write in the parking lots, kept it all to yourself? I love that. So I'm definitely going to link to the article so everyone listening can read this article because it is so important. It works. It is so simple and it makes sense. Can you tell us about what future state journaling is?
Perfect. So what I love about that whole concept is that it's simple. So number one, simplicity.
Yep.
Number two, 20 minutes. So I will start with the time constraint because this is one of the questions that I get most often. Why 20 minutes? So 20 minutes, some of the readers pointed out that it's the Pomodoro technique. And absolutely, yes. So when it comes to science, that's where the 20 minutes comes from. Having that time constraint, our brain knows that it gets to produce.
There's a start and an end.
Exactly. And so just knowing that I go from A to Z in 20 minutes, brain says, okay, I'm ready. Let's go and do it.
Yeah.
And then 3 steps. I love simple, elegant structures that allow my brain to follow.
Yeah.
So step number 1 is see it in your mind's eye. So that's a mental rehearsal. Mental rehearsal allows our brain to have, I call it like a taster of what's happening in the future. Then step 2 is write it. So that's where the connection between our brain and our handwriting comes in. So there's the direct correlation. There's a lot of research that has been done on the effectiveness of writing by hand and how it helps with rewiring our brain. Question number 2 that I get most often is, do I have to?
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
By hand. And I always answer it the same way. No, you don't have to. However, if you do, you will get much better results.
Exactly.
Because the direct correlation between the hand movement and the connection and rewiring our brain. What I like in terms of suggestions is, and I completely get digital age and all of it, what I do suggest for people that are like, I have to have it on my phone, is perfect. Take a photo, turn it into PDF, have it on your phone.
Okay.
Just do that 20 minutes by hand and then run it through AI. Do whatever you want digitally with it.
Yeah.
As long as you've actually took the action and you did use your hand. So step number 2 is write it. Step number 3 is act it. It has already happened. And that's where action comes into the play. And when I say action, it's tiny micro action steps. Doesn't have to be and I will use this example because I worked with one of the readers recently on. She wanted to do a future script for going and asking for promotion.
Okay.
She was suddenly terrified of her boss. And so we worked on her script, and she was able to write it as it already happened and include all the senses. And she was able to describe how her body was feeling. She infused it with emotions, and it was perfect. And beautiful script. So we're done. And she's like, okay, so do I go now and ask him for promotion? I said, no, wait, let it integrate.
Yeah.
However, what I want you to do is before you go, I want you to have a couple of different conversations with your coworkers and practice. And she was like, oh, you want me to practice? But I already did what you told me. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
This is where the micro actions come into play, because that's when integration happens. When we take the steps to practice, and she's practicing now with her coworkers, she's noticing things that she has never thought about, and she's noticing what is happening in her body. And this is what, like, I mean, for me, that is just so incredibly juicy.
Yeah.
It's when she texts me, she said, the first action I took, I was doing role playing with my coworker, and my stomach felt like I had a stone at the bottom of my stomach. I'm like, oh, okay, that's great thing for you to notice. Let's rewire it, reprogram it. So when you actually go in,
Right.
actually have this conversation, you are not having this experience. The second practice conversation, the person said, no, absolutely not. You are not getting a raise. She's like, I broke down crying. And I was like, okay, perfect.
Yep.
This is exactly why the action is so important, because you've practiced having that response and working through that response. So again, what is happening with you emotionally? What is happening in your body? Were you able to take a breath and counter-propose something? She's like, oh, counter-propose? I can counter-propose? Really? I'm like, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. If it's not 10,000, what prevents you from asking for 5,000? She's like, oh, I never thought about it. So then the further she goes, and again, she practices, and the person says, no, you cannot get the 10,000. She's like, can I get the 5,000? And the coworker says, no, absolutely not. You are not going to get 5,000. And she's like, and I took a deep breath and I asked, can I get 3,000 and 2,000 for personal development and $1,000 allowance for my phone? And the person said yes. And she was like, that was so awesome.
I love that.
I
So
walked
good.
out from that conversation feeling like $1 million. And so is she ready now? Absolutely. But it took 3 actions.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's what's so important, is taking the action, the micro actions. Not immediately writing your future, closing your notebook and going and asking for someone to invest in your company and expecting that you will get $1 million, or having that difficult conversation with your spouse that you really want him to contribute to cleaning the house. Practice first, as it already has happened.
Yeah.
And then watch for the data points that actually happening.
Yeah. I love that. That's so important to remind people of too. It's data points. It's information that you get to then work with.
Exactly.
Question about this process. When you write your problem, what if it's not a problem? What if it's just something, this is just something I really want to do?
Yeah.
What problem?
Yeah. So that is perfect. So that's more like the challenge / opportunity, because for me, challenges and opportunities are the same. Yeah. So I will use the example of, because that came from one of my readers. She said, I really want to have a clean house. That's a want. And maybe it's a problem for her, but for the rest of her family, maybe it's not a problem.
Yeah. So how would she word that question?
Right. So it's, who am I being that I have a clean house?
Yes.
And her way of being is completely different now because she's able, again, and this is why I love this, is because she was able to ask her children to contribute to having a clean house. Before we talked, it did not even occur to her to ask her children because in her mind, all my children are too young and they cannot help with cleanup. I'm like, absolutely, there's no such thing as a children.
No.
My son was scrubbing toilets when he was 4. Was it perfect? Hell no.
No.
I
No.
went and I did it again. But there's no such thing, right?
Yeah.
You can have your kids do absolutely everything in that you need to get done. You just get to lower your expectation.
Yes.
That's one. Or you also have the choice of going and redoing it when they don't see it. That is very important because then it takes, if I would have gone and cleaned the bathroom when my son was seeing that I was doing it, it would have sent the wrong message to him.
That
So
makes sense.
I made sure that he was asleep.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, now I can do whatever I need to do to have the bathroom clean. But he had the win and the knowledge that he's contributing, that he is making a difference, that he is a huge part of having a clean, lovely, welcoming environment. And to this day, I'm going to brag a little bit about my son, but to this day, he goes and does acts of cleaning that always surprise me, including like I love coming home late from work and having my bed made by him with a chocolate.
That is so nice.
But it came from having him to be a huge part of that process very young.
Hopefully it's not too late. I'm going to have my kid listen to this and put some chocolates on my...
Absolutely. Doesn't happen overnight, but you build it up, right? Like you make sure that they feel such a big part and such an integral part of your home community.
Yeah.
And they actually are able to derive pride and joy from it. And that it's not a chore.
Yes. That makes sense.
Because the moment it becomes a chore, it's just me nagging him to do laundry, do this, do this, do this. Rather than turning it into a chore, it's more of an option and appreciation. Right? So I would say things like, James, I really appreciate when you do laundry. I would love for you to do laundry today. You pick the time. I'm not going to tell you when. You get to decide. Let me know if you need help. That's it.
Yeah.
But I had to retrain myself
Yeah.
because I'm a very high achiever and I'm a sort of personality A. I'm like, I want everything done right now. If I tell you, get it done, just so it can be done, so I can check it off my list.
Yeah.
I got to rewire my brain where I'm okay with, if it happens at 8 a.m., great. If it happens at midnight, I'm okay with that as well because it got done.
Exactly. I love that. So my other question with the writing, so we do our writing for 20 minutes.
Mhm.
What about if we want to do it daily? What if my question evolves and I'm like, I want to look at this angle of asking for a promotion or this angle of my career? Totally okay.
Totally okay. The only tweak or disclaimer I would say in relationship to this is give at least 24 hours for your brain and your body to integrate.
That makes sense.
So whatever challenge or opportunity you're writing about. So I will go back to the clean house. So 20 minutes writing about having this amazing experience of spotless house that feels like sanctuary. Put it to the side for at least 24 hours. Come back, reread it, and build on it, move things.
Yeah.
Rewrite it. Just do things that feel aligned, that support the vision, and that support your brain being fully present to the new you and the future you. So it can start looking for those data points, and it can noticing like, oh, look, my spouse came in and cleaned, I don't know, entire kitchen.
Yeah.
Or my kids did all the laundry. Like, oh my God, what do I do with myself? I have so much time now.
Yeah. I love that. That makes sense. And rereading it. So if we don't want to write it every day, so that's another thing. Some people are like, I have to do this every day. It's like, well, no, you don't. No, don't do it every day. Do you suggest people reread it every day, twice a day? What do you find works?
So that's a great question. And that's and I'm going to give you two-folded answer.
Yeah.
So if you are an auditory learner, then read it, reread it every day. Because for auditory learners, that works really well because their brain is able to process it, integrate it through the auditory channel.
Yeah.
If you are visual, kinesthetic learner, can you read it? Sure. Is it going to be as effective as sitting down again and writing it? No.
Yeah.
Because your brain, and you really have to know what kind of learner you are and what works really well for you.
Mhm.
So for me, I'm highly visual and highly kinesthetic.
Yeah.
Auditory comes in one ear, goes the other. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Most of.
Yep, I get it.
So to be fair, I did try auditory manifesting and guided meditations, webinars, and listen podcasts and books and all of it. I'm not able to retain as much information as if I do it with my head and if I can see it.
Yeah.
So you just have to know yourself really well. And then the second part of this response is do what works for you.
Yes, I love that. Again, you're taking it back to do experiments, see
Yeah.
what works, pivot, change, and all in the name of getting to know yourself.
Exactly.
I love that. What kinds of things are you writing these days on Substack or other places? Other places that you're writing that we need to know about?
No, so right now, so I made a conscious decision to stick with just one, the one Substack.
Good.
In the past couple of weeks, I wrote more about the rewiring the identity using this method. And then my latest article was how to leverage this method when you are stepping into a family dynamics that might not be that supportive of you, aka Thanksgiving or
Yes.
with Christmas coming, same idea. But it's how to use this method to rewrite your experience. And there was a couple of readers that shared their stories. And one of them was this latest lovely woman said, she read my article in the car before walking into the Thanksgiving dinner. And she's like, I stopped myself. I actually did the exercise.
Yeah.
And then walked into the Thanksgiving dinner, and she actually was able to notice when she was starting to become triggered. I actually don't like the word trigger, activated.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Trigger can be triggering to people.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly.
I get it.
You're my people. Anyway, so she noticed that she's getting activated. And so she paused, took a breath, and said to herself, who am I being that in this particular moment in the situation that allows me to actually fully enjoy my family and fully enjoy the celebration? I was like, I'm so proud of her.
So good. So in your original article, you suggest 6 months in the future.
Yeah.
But this was right before she went into her Thanksgiving event.
Yeah.
So it can be right before. It doesn't need to be, no, I have something coming up at the end of the month or anything like that.
Exactly. And I'll tell you the secret behind the six months. Okay.
Yes.
So the reason why I picked 6 months was 6 months is far away that our brain doesn't get threatened by.
Yes.
There's a whole science of creating the safe experiences and safe container when it comes to writing. So because I've experimented doing this exercise with different people and using different time intervals, what I found was that 6 months was the sweet spot for someone that is just starting. For people that have been writing, journaling, mentally rehearsing, or neural reprogramming, the next day is okay because their brain already feels safe enough where it can handle. For people that are relatively new to these concepts, if I would have said tomorrow, 3 weeks from now, even 3 months from now, it feels so constraining and the brain immediately goes into like danger. This is not good for me, so I'm going to reject it.
Yes.
Since 6 months, it's like, oh, okay, far enough. I don't have to. This is as a brain. I'm speaking as a 6 months. I don't have to worry about it. You can write whatever you want.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah. It's fascinating. And like I said, it comes from experimenting.
So good. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you for probably 6 more hours. We won't. Yeah. We'll have to do that another time. Very fun and easy question. I would love to know, is there a particular drink you like to have when you're doing your future state journaling or even your Substack writing? Like, do you drink different things? Curious.
My Substack is powered by coffee.
Powered by coffee. I love it. What do you take it plain?
Any coffee.
Any coffee.
I don't care as long as it's coffee.
Perfect.
And then my coaching sessions, seminars, or anything that happens in the afternoon is powered by tea.
Yeah. Otherwise, coffee, I don't know, for me anyway, it would keep me awake.
Yeah. So I cut myself. So no coffee past none. Sorry.
Okay. That makes sense. That was so great. So we are going to link to all the links. We want to hear from you. Like we said, we want to hear what you think. We want to hear your questions. Before we go, Magdalena, do you have a few words of wisdom that you would love to leave people with today?
Oh, that's a hard one. I have so many words.
As many words as you want to share.
The word of wisdom for Substack. So I will start there. Just keep going. It can be frustrating. It can be disheartening. There's so many emotions you might be experiencing. The imposter syndrome, the comparing yourself, like all these things might be happening. All I can say, just keep going, because every story, every note you publish, you share, there is that one person that is going to make difference and it's going to alter and transform their lives. Probably won't know them. They might be just lurking in the shadows. They will never contact you. They will never say anything. And it will still transform their lives. And then five years later, they will send you an email and say, oh, I read your thing 5 years ago and it really transformed my life. So that's number one. That's for Substack. Just keep going. Period.
Yes, keep going. Keep writing. I love it.
Just keep writing. Number two, I will reinforce what we both said. You make the time.
Yeah.
And you write in the stolen moments. You do have the time. I promise you, you do have the time.
Yes.
That's number two when it comes to writing. And then number three, when it comes to future scripting, the biggest word of wisdom is just do it. Just give it a try. Take action. It's 20 minutes. The potential is amazing. It can transform your life. Unless you do it, you will never know. That's it.
I love that. And it's only 20 minutes. And you could spend 20 minutes scrolling on your phone.
Yeah.
Or you could just try this. I love those words of wisdom. Those are beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Magdalena, for being here. We will see you on Substack.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am so appreciative. And most importantly, I had so much fun.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. I'm so glad you were here.
Thanks.